Spera, and this is the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 154. You'll shoot your eye out, kid. Recorded live Sunday, November 30th, 2025, live from iTechGear Central. As I said, I'm Christopher Spera, the editor-in-chief here at iTechGear.org. We've got a full crew this week, kids, and joining us this week, we've got that editor from iTechGear and former contributing editor over at Gear Diary and the late great Pocket now. That's Mr. Chris Gavula. How are you, sir?
Oh, we're doing just peachy. We're all cold and wet in our parts of the country, aren't we now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I think that's about everywhere.
Just about. We got 12 inches of that four-letter word. So
we got less, but we got some.
And we're supposed to get 1 to 3 inches either tomorrow or the next day. I forget which it is, but
there you go.
There's more coming. So
there's always more coming.
It's that's what she said. Anyway,
oh my goodness. And we've started already.
And the former contributing writer of Gear Diary and the host of the Linux Link Tech Show, living in the Retro Arcade podcast, and fitness for the rest of us. That's Brother Joe McLaughlin. How are you, sir?
I'm doing just fine. Ran my shoot. I was trying to get a turkey sound effect. Oh well. Ran the Grove City Thanksgiving waddle. And been there, got the t-shirt.
All right.
And I did a personal record on that day, and it was freaking cold.
Oh yeah, that I do not doubt.
Yep.
I do not doubt that at all. And finally, last but never ever least, we've got the editor at iTechGear.org and the former co-owner of WUGNET Publications. That's Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. How are you, sir?
I am just peachy. I'll tell you what, I know our readers can't see it, but I'm going to get one of those teleprompter cards that you hold up and says, "We're all going to HR."
We're all going to HR.
I thought I was going to say we're all going to HE double hockey sticks, but
I don't need a sign to tell me either of those things. So there you go.
Hey, reading through the show notes for tonight, though, we've got some interesting stories. So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah,
should be fun.
Yeah. So to lead it off in the thank you, the Apple segment. No turkey here. Apparently,
timing is everything too. Yeah.
I know. No turkey here. Apparently, Apple has finally, at least they say, they finally cracked the crease. And I'm excited.
The crack.
Did Apple say that, or did somebody else say that?
Well, somebody else said that Apple.
Ming Kuo, I think, right?
Yeah, well, it was either that or Mark Gurman or somebody here over at Apple Insider with the link that we're citing here.
Gotcha.
I think somebody's dreaming. I'm sorry.
Well, apparently, according to them, Apple has solved the creasing problem in foldable displays, and
it's going to cost as much as a Mac.
But this is half the freaking problem here. Is that the big issue is that with a folding phone, of course, I mean you're taking the screen and you're folding it in half. And I will tell you that when I first got the Fold 7, the Samsung Fold 7, I mean you couldn't see the crease at all. Now you kind of sort of see it. The more that you use it, of course, the more that you're actually going to go ahead and actually see something, some form of line or dip form in that particular spot. And apparently, and Joel, I think you said it best. We'll believe it when we see it. The issue though that really has me though concerned about the creasing problem is that I don't care what you do. I mean you're opening and closing that fold. You're moving that mechanism.
It's a piece of material. If you bend it 28 gazillion times, it's going to show a sign.
This is exactly what I'm saying. Unless of course, Apple's done something that supports that divot and pushes that.
Well, here's the thing. They could be doing like a teardrop loop where you're not really folding it, if you know what I mean. You're
Right,
bending it, but you're
right.
not really folding
You're
it.
bending
per
it,
se.
but you're right. No, and that's
So
what
that
I'm
would
sure
what's
just
that's
happening on the
true.
Samsung
and that would
phones. Is
certainly
they're
and
teardrops.
That would
but
help. That would
if
help.
if they've made that somehow made that even more, in other words, there's less pressure at the
Right,
bend point when you're
right.
closing it, then maybe this could last longer. But I still agree with you. Eventually, that's got to start to show after so many
It's going
But
to.
closes.
more
Well, it's a law of
importantly, I
physics,
think,
right?
more importantly is what is Tim Cook going to say when the first question is asked? And it will be the first question when he walks off the stage after announcing this thing. Mr. Cook, how long is that crease going to last? He's got to have an answer.
Yeah.
Wonder what it'll be.
Yeah. How long
We'll
is it
see.
going to be until the fold starts showing the
And
crease?
that is if they even bring out a folding iPhone.
Yeah.
I mean,
There you go.
the
That's
rumor
still
is
a big if.
it's been rumored for what, 3 years
3
now?
years. 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and they haven't done it, and they haven't done it, and they haven't
Well,
done it.
No,
It's
no,
still
they
coming.
haven't.
It's still coming. And I'm like,
If the supply chain so dictates that they're doing that, then it's probably true. But that's not
Right.
yet.
Yeah, but what really
Truth.
I think the most disappointing thing related to all of this is that it's going to be a little bit on the pricey side, wouldn't you say, Chris?
A little
$2,400.
bit.
But guys, let's not get excited about that number, because let's put the number in perspective a little bit based on current pricing of products that really exist. If you load up a 17 Pro Max today, you're looking at $2,000 already.
Yeah.
All
But
right.
most of that is
Yeah, hang on.
storage.
Okay, but that's still a big deal. But if you do an iPad Pro and you load up an iPad Pro, you're at $2,600. And if you buy the keyboard and mouse, you're over $3,000 for an iPad Pro. So put this in perspective. Is a foldable phone with 2 screens at $2,400 out of line with what Apple's pricing is? Not at all. Is it expensive? Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's expensive, but is it out of line? Not even close.
Well,
Not even
I think
close.
I think we're pretty much acclimated in spending those kinds of dollars for technology toys. We
Well,
really
I think
are.
that's true.
Here's Chris and I were talking about this a little bit
We were.
during the week, and I can understand. Chris makes a decent point. If you load up the iPhone Pro or the Pro Max, all right, you're looking, you're pushing $2,000 or so dollars. If you load up that iPad Pro, you're pushing $2,500, and then closer to $3,000 or more if you add the keyboard and
Pen.
and pen,
Pencil.
right?
Pencil.
Or
Yeah, but
pencil.
Chris, what if you gear up this thing? It starts out at 2,000, and you put 2 terabytes of
And this
storage
is and
on
this
it,
is my
and then
point.
it's going to be $3,500.
This
or
is my point. What I'm hoping is that $2,400 is not
comes with something. You think?
I'm hoping that $2,400 is not the entry point. It's not the price of entry. All right. What
I
I'm
bet it
hoping
is.
is that $2,400 price point is more on the high end. If your low end fold were as much as like your mid-level or your low-level Pro Max, I can understand. All right, at 1199.
How much is the Pixel Fold? $1,900, right?
I understand.
And how much is the Galaxy the Galaxy Fold 7?
It's
Same thing,
it
probably?
was 15, I think.
Oh, 15.
All right,
At entry, not once you load it up. It's not
well, at
But yeah.
entry. At entry.
at entry. You're
At
right.
entry. And
It's about
that's what I'm
1,500 at
hoping.
entry.
That's what I'm hoping that we're finding. We find out is that this price is more mid-tier or upper tier for the iPhone Fold. What I'm
I
hoping
don't know.
is
We're seeing a range
I don't
listed
know.
of 1,800 to 2,500. People are guessing it based
You know
on
what? To support
supplier
you,
information.
Chris, to support you, I think you may be onto something, because looking back, Apple has always let the rumor mill guess on what the price of a new
Yeah,
product is.
fair
They
enough.
bring it down a couple of $100. Everybody goes,
Yeah.
"Wow, that's cheap. I'll buy it." That's what happens every
Well,
time.
partly, and I think that's part of the way the machine works and runs, right? Is that they let the public go nuts, and then they
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but
and
there's
then they
long been
ratchet back
complaints.
a few $100.
There's long been complaints ever since day one with the iPhones about
Mm-hmm.
Apple and their premium pricing. Premium pricing. Well,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So I'm not anticipating it. I mean, I think it'll be under that $2,400, but I don't think it's going to be a lot below that because again, that to me that notches in with the other products they've got right now. It notches into that space. Not great, but it does.
No, I'm hoping Tim has not let me down too badly over the last couple of product introductions. All right, in terms of pricing.
Right,
All right.
sure.
Seriously, they're a bit more realistic, and they're also, I think, becoming a little bit more realistic when it comes to some of their entry level products that they are in fact planning. All right. So we'll see what happens, but I can't help but think, there's so much anticipation over this particular device. I
Assuming
would love
it
to
actually
see.
comes out, guys, as Joel kind of pointed out before, it's still rumor. The whole
It's
thing
still
is still
no, and
rumor.
that's true. That's true.
But
And
there,
we're
but
not
there
going
are
to
some
see anything
reliable
until
people talking about it now. But
yeah,
Yeah,
it
like the
is still
pricing
rumor.
on from Ming-Chi, so maybe
And
I
those
don't know.
guys base a lot on what they're getting from suppliers, information they're getting from suppliers. So
Yeah.
maybe there's some validity there. Maybe the pricing is valid or close to valid. Who
Well,
knows?
you
But
know,
we also don't know what Apple's paying for this because they've invented, if the crease problem is solved or mostly solved, they'll have introduced something new into the mix, right? So
right.
who knows what that costs them to develop? If that's the case, we don't know.
Yeah, true.
We do know they're buying screens from Samsung if they do this. We do know they're doing that if they're doing it. That's
Right.
been
I don't think
quoted.
anybody makes a better one.
Yeah,
Well, that's a lot of Samsung screens are in Apple products. People may or
that's
may
Yeah.
not
true.
be aware of that.
That's
So
true.
that is going to sort of dictate a certain amount of the pricing anyway. That right there, but we'll see where they go with it. It's going to be interesting, that's for sure.
Very
Yep.
true. Very true. You know what else I think is kind of cool is that Larry's excited.
Larry's
Oh
excited.
yeah.
He's excited. All right.
I'm excited.
He's excited for iOS 26.4 because Apple Siri solution should be available by then, right? Isn't that true, Larry?
That's what they tell us. But we'll talk a little bit more about Gemini tonight. But for right now, just a tidbit: they have released Gemini 3. If you haven't played around with it yet, and they did this with a lot of fanfare, not just from Google, but more on this later. So Apple and Google have reportedly partnered on the underlying technology that's going to power next gen Siri, which will
Mm-hmm.
be starting in iOS 26.4. All signs show that they won't advertise this as a Google product, but of course, everybody like us will know. But the other 95% of just Billy Joe Bob user isn't going to care. It's just Siri. That's all they care about. Apple also did state that the user privacy that Google is so infamous for invading will not be impacted. I hear all the Google haters out there breathing a sigh of relief, but and it won't be like the current Chat GPT as we know it. It's going to be a special integration of this. It's not an optional add-on. Instead, it's the whole core of Siri will get an update that utilizes all the AI smarts from Gemini. And it's not all Gemini 3, it's going to be some Gemini 2.5 in there too. But I don't know. I don't think Apple would have gone down this path after having already courted two other people, ChatGPT and Perplexity. They talked with both of them at length, and we all thought it might happen, but it didn't. It came down to Google. So
Sure.
I don't know.
I think only thing I would add to that, Larry, is based on the stories that I'm reading, they're either saying it's going to be 26.4 or 26.5. I've seen some
Okay.
discrepancy from
Right.
different
The one
stories.
I was just reading the one
I don't know what
article
it'll
that
be. I
said
don't know what
either.
it'll be, but what I'm telling people is if it doesn't pop up in 26.4, don't be too excited. Because yes, I've seen stories that said either or.
And if it's delayed a little bit, it won't break my heart. But I tell you
Right.
what, this is another one that Apple has got to get right
They
because
do.
delivering on all their past promises It's this was an important deal. I mean, if they don't
Yeah,
do it this time,
Oh,
they
that
lose
definitely
out
I
for
would,
true.
but I
long.
would rather see them. I would rather see them delay a version or two or
Oh
a
hell
sub
yeah!
version or
and
two
get it right.
than
Yep, get it
get
right.
it wrong. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Get it right.
but let's not say we know for sure which version it's supposed to pop up in, because I'm reading
Well,
contradictory stuff,
the current plan, right, is 26.4,
or
right?
26.5 depending on the story you read.
Right. Well, no, well, from what I understand and from what I remember from WWDC, um, it was planned, always planned for 26.4. If it gets pushed, who cares? The point, and because both of you are right, what really matters is getting it
Get it right.
correct, getting it right. All right. That's
Yep.
all right. Apple has slid back too far in the digital assistant, all right, AI area. If they screw this up, they're going to have a next to impossible chance of coming back from this. All right. They may as well just retire
Mhm.
Siri and just say, you know what? No, we're not going to have one. We can't get it right, so we're not going to do it. All right. So, because I can see that happening. All right. It's just a matter of how are they going to pull it all together.
Maybe that has something to do with why they are thinking about integrating search engine of your choice and AI of your choice into that camera button, as they're going to do in Japan, just in case this thing blows up, they'll have something to fall back on.
Nah,
Maybe.
Maybe.
I think that's legal only. I think they're being pushed to it.
Oh,
So
okay.
Oh,
I
you
think
think
that's all
so?
that is. Yeah, yeah. I think the Japanese government has rules in place now, and so does the EU. I think that's all that's driving that. I don't think there's anything more to it than that.
Hmm. Well,
Hmm.
we'll see. So, but that is this week's short and sweet Apple segment. I'm going to move us to our mobile Linux segment now, and I want to touch on this happens every year here in the States, and it really the term Black Friday was coined here in the States. All right, and it's
Right.
always the Friday after Thanksgiving Day, right? Um, Simply because that was the one day that most of the retailers in the United States actually were able to shift their operating revenues from in the red to quote unquote in the black, right? So the
Supposedly.
Black Friday, right? Um, I guess my rhetorical, and not even soapbox worthy, but my rhetorical little discussion, all right, is does it even really matter anymore? Is Black Friday even relevant anymore from
Well, yeah.
a retail perspective, um, from a tradition perspective, simply because I mean I hear it's Black Friday in July, all right, or
Well, let's make
But
this.
it's
Let's
it's
make
still
this.
this weekend. There's a million and a half
Yes,
people
yes
on
and
the
no.
road.
Yes
Right.
and no. But let's make this more of a tech story, because let's talk about how this
well,
spread, if you will. And it spread because we started with Black Friday, and people would run to the stores and run to the
yeah,
malls and
yeah,
go crazy. That's where this all began.
yes.
As we moved to the internet, let's introduce the technology into it.
Oh,
Then we
the new
started to have
term,
Cyber
Cyber Monday.
Monday,
Cyber
and
Monday, right,
and the
which is
sales would begin
effectively Black Friday on the internet,
on the
right?
internet.
On
But
the
that
internet.
but on top of that, the actual Black Friday sales started to appear weeks ahead of time
Oh,
on your
Or
months.
online
sometimes a
things. You get
month.
but you get the point is you'd get emails, you'd get all kinds of things. The digital economy, the internet economy, has really what's driven this kind of spread of this thing across multiple days. So more
And
than anything
that's
else.
But I
and
would
that's
argue, who cares? As long as we have 12 Black Fridays a year and we get a discount, I'm all for
Well, that's if we actually are getting a
I
discount.
understand what you're talking about, but the whole idea behind the Black Friday discount was not that there was a discount, because I mean, for crying out loud, you know, we've been having, Crazy Al's, my pants are on fire sale down at the local used car dealership,
Although,
since the
I'll,
1950s.
but to be
Right.
honest, I'm not sad seen people not hurt trying to grab that television at Walmart.
Oh,
Okay,
or what about the
you
fist
don't
fights
see.
that people got into over
But that's my
the
point.
Cabbage Patch craze?
All of that stuff, but you don't
Right.
see that anymore that way. It doesn't
No.
happen like it used to, and the internet and buying online is what's changed a lot of that.
Yeah.
The
But
urgency
I
isn't
think
there.
people react to what causes a sale.
Yeah.
Point in case here locally, we have a furniture store thing that every year they have we're going out of business liquidation
Oh,
sale,
sure,
and
sure.
they've done it 15 years in a row, and
Right.
people still flock to the store.
Yep.
So they're just doing whatever
Yeah.
they can to bring in the
It's
masses.
whatever
To bring
triggers
you
you.
into the store, right?
That's it. That's all
But
it
I
is.
do think the advent of the internet, the advent of a lot of digital sales and everything online sales has really reduced some of the urgency that we used to experience with Black Friday and having
my
to buy
God,
it now
yes.
or else.
Well, yeah, and
It
like you
just
said,
isn't
at
like
least
it used to
somebody
be.
didn't get killed at the entrance of Walmart.
Oh
You know?
gosh, who needed
Well, yeah,
that,
and
right?
that's because people got trampled trying to
Right.
get into the store.
Absolutely true.
You know,
Absolutely, the
people
craziness
got
level.
crushed up
I
against
mean,
the glass doors,
we've
or
all seen the videos of the fights and the craziness from people trying to grab those last minute. Well, we don't need that anymore because if they don't have it, somebody else will have it online. Who cares?
right.
That's kind of where we
and,
are now.
and to an effects, in some of the deals just aren't as good as they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember used to
That's true too.
I would go to Target and grab a terabyte hard drive for $100. Well,
Yeah,
now you can get 4 or 5 or more.
yeah.
So and for that same 100, and a
It
lot of
isn't what it
times,
used to be. That's
well,
true.
and a lot of times those are
Absolutely.
special SKUs too that they only carry for that day, and
Yeah,
they are not the top level product either.
Well,
true.
yeah, and they
So
usually had, they would go ahead and they would advertise, okay, we've got this 55-inch TV for $25 or whatever the heck it was, right?
right,
And they
Yeah, some
might have
ridiculous
one
number.
in the store, one or two in
Right.
the entire store, all right? And the whole idea is that they would pull not necessarily the quote unquote bait and switch, but oh geez,
Well,
I'm sorry, we did have it, it's
hmm
sold out, but we have all of these others,
or
you
of
know?
course.
like
Or
other
they'd run
things
you
I've
around to
seen
another
this year
location.
are things like, well, if you spend X amount of dollars, you get X and
Yeah.
X and
Yeah.
X. And if you spend a little more, we add this. And you spend a
Yeah.
little more, you get this. And
Yeah.
it's like
We're
it's
seeing.
not about saving money at that point anymore.
But
No.
Apple uses the same gimmick that Joel just mentioned. I had 2 emails already this week from Apple
Yeah.
saying, "Get these gift cards while they're hot on all these
Yeah.
cool products." Well, the gift cards only come with the low end phones and the low end trash that they're not selling. You
Right.
don't get them for anything that's hot. You just don't.
Or that you might find more valuable or more desirable, right?
Right.
It's the bait that they're using to
The
get you into the
Watch
store.
SE, the iPhone 16e, all that stuff.
All that
Yeah.
crap, right? That you
All
don't
that
want.
Well,
crap.
I mean,
And
it's not
speaking,
crap to some people,
well, no, but it's the
but it
lower
is sort
end.
of to us.
It's the lower end stuff. And speaking of specific deals, right? Um, what I've done is I've gone and I've pulled some examples of things that that you might be able to see or find on the internet. What's I think one of the bigger things right now are streaming deals for streaming services, right? PureFlix is a movie-based streaming service. They're 30% off right now. For Disney has a Disney Plus and Hulu Plus a deal for 61% off for an entire year.
Yeah, but
Um,
all of them are time based, every one of them,
Absolutely. Paramount
just to
Plus,
get you in the
you can
door.
get 2 months of Paramount Plus for $3 a month, and then it goes up to the regular price after that, right? Um,
$12.95.
the accessory deals, right? NBC
Sure.
Select has got a number of different tech deals that you can go ahead and take a look at, and in some of these, I mean, you'll see
Yeah.
AirPod Pro AirPod 4s for $139. You've got
Yeah.
a single Apple AirTag for $18. You've got the best car the Norco Boost G40 jump starter for $80 on Amazon. right? Anker's got the Anker Nano Power Bank with Instacord, which is a 10,000 milliamp battery for $40. I mean, those kinds of things. All right, and then
Yeah.
Samsung's got all sorts of
And
weird and fabulous tech deals
and if
on
you're in the
their.
Apple thing, they're giving you Apple gift cards
Yeah,
with purchase a lot of a lot of devices and services now.
yeah,
So
And that's
everybody's
soft
got
money
something.
to Apple. I
Yeah, soft
mean,
money to Apple. So they've all got their games going right now.
they do. They do, but that's the point. It's games for right now, and the discounts may be a little bit steeper right now because of the tradition of Black Friday here in the States. But make no mistake about it, kids. These are all gimmicks, sales gimmicks, in order to get you to walk into
And
either the digital storefront
yeah.
or the actual physical
And
store.
here's the thing: if you don't buy them right now,
Don't worry.
there'll be more sales.
sure they will.
There'll be sales all throughout the holiday
Just
season
as
here.
much.
There'll be more after the Christmas holiday because of things that didn't sell. They'll want to sell things again, and you bought a new computer. Now we need to sell you software. Now we need to sell you accessories. Now we need to sell.
Now you need speakers. Now you need a keyboard. Now you need
There's
RAM.
always
Now
right.
a hard
There's
drive
always
or whatever.
so
And,
there's
and
always
if you
a sale
think
going on.
if you think it won't come later, to quote Chris, he's right, because a week and a half ago I bought a pair of the new AirPod Pro 3. First time they were ever discounted was on the Apple Store on Amazon, $219. Today shopping, I saw those things everywhere, $219.
$19, right?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Kmart, anywhere else, they all got
Same
them.
same deal or better.
They do.
Same
They
deal or
do.
better.
But a week
if you
later,
miss it
Apple had
this
to kick it
time,
off, though.
if you miss it this time, you'll get it next time.
That's
All
right.
right.
Don't
And that's
buy
my whole
in.
and that was my whole point about Black Friday. Does it even really matter anymore?
Right.
It doesn't.
I don't think it does.
You're probably right.
So
But what does matter, Chris?
well, that thin is no longer in, Larry.
Aha.
Hey. Stop looking at my belly when you say that.
Hey,
That's
no,
right.
oh, we're not looking at your belly there, bud.
Oh, I tell you what, that may be true, but I sure hope thin stays in a little while longer, because today I bought an iPhone Pro Max to replace my thin iPhone Air, and I need to sell that to somebody before it goes out of vogue.
Well,
So anyway,
but that is sort of the thing. Is thin still in when it comes to phones?
I don't know. To quote Mark Jansen over at Android Police, who obviously hates thin phones with a huge passion, just as soon as this thing was pitched as the future, he says it's gone away, it's already dead. Well, yeah, sales of the Galaxy Thin Edge
Right.
aren't doing so well, and neither is the iPhone Air, struggling a little bit. But again, it's a new product, and I think, as Chris Gavula stated in the pre-show, we don't really know. I think we've heard rumor that what Apple's doing is changing their phone cycle to be more like Samsung's, where they'll introduce the Pro phones in fall, and then they'll introduce the SE or the Lite or the whatever phones, and the Air phone in like March, kind of like Samsung does.
Well,
So I don't know. I still personally think that there are obviously fans of thin phones out there, and I'm one of them. But even though I don't have it, I mean, I still have it. But
I don't think this phone has been a failure. I think that's
no,
kind
it's
of
a niche
misstated
phone. There's no doubt. It's
exactly,
a
and
niche
I think
thing.
it's kind of been a misstated thing to call it a failure. And some folks
That's
like
right.
this guy,
Yeah.
like this guy you're talking about, kind of immediately said, "Oh, it's dead. Oh, it's failure." It's not necessarily. What I would say, however, is that I think thin phones have a place, and I think you're right, Larry. I think it'll be a thing. It's a niche thing or not a niche thing. There's always going to be some people that want it that way. Here's the problem I have: that both Samsung and this device made compromises to get it this thin. I think
Oh
the
no! In
compromises.
fact, that's exactly what I was
I
going
think
to
the
talk about. Yeah.
compromises were what was unacceptable, not the fact that it's thin. It was the compromises. If we didn't have the
And what
compromises, or if they were lesser compromises, they weren't such a big deal.
what Chris is talking about here is exactly what I was going to say. Even though thin is okay in some regard, there's a lot of advantages to a larger phone in general. Larger batteries,
Yeah.
more capable cameras,
Yeah.
and more expensive folding phones if they release it. We're hoping this is true for the Apple. More room for antennas. That's a big deal. I'm not so sure that my coverage is as good as it was on the older 16 Pro I had, even though it's supposedly that chip is
Well,
better. Also, large phones are just they just tend to make a smoother process. I don't know what it is. It's
it
more
probably
room for
because of
more
the probably
components.
because of the screen real estate. They're easier to see. They're easier to hold because they're bigger. They're thicker. All right. So that's
Yeah.
why I think, you're not necessarily seeing thin replace thick, right?
Yeah.
Um, Larry, I keep on going back to a conversation that we had on a show when the iPhone Air was introduced earlier this year in September. You had specifically, and Chris as well, had specifically stated that the iPhone Air was an experiment to see whether or not they could actually make
Mhm.
half a
I
fold
think so.
phone
It might
case,
still be
you
true.
know,
I don't know.
you know, and and at that point when you've got two of those things folded up and married together, and it's about a millimeter or so thicker than the regular non-folding phone. Is that a thin phone or is that a folding phone or is it both? And does it really matter? You know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I still think, again, I do think was originally created for multiple reasons. It was to gauge the market for such a thing, but it was also to see how it would be in the real world. So as
mhm.
they go forward with a folding phone, we can get a sense of, how this would hold up or not. I think there's a
And
lot of reasons why they did it.
if it flops in sales and it wins in regard to the for the test bed for the fold, then they haven't lost
If
money then.
if they learn what they needed to learn, yeah, I would absolutely agree. So I don't know. I think there's multiple reasons they released this thing.
Agreed.
And but again, as for me, for you guys, I think we've agreed that the compromises, the battery and the camera are the two biggest compromises that people are not happy with. I get it. I get it. It's enough, but it's barely enough for a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Uh-huh.
but I think those compromises are for anything that even remotely looks like a power user, and that's a lot of us. It's not enough,
It's not
and
enough.
so
No,
and they really only had to go a little bit further, and they probably would have been okay. But again, this is the things they probably put it out to learn. You know,
I mean, my wife
what?
didn't even give it a second glance, and she's not a
Yeah,
power user.
yeah. There you go. Did is there a reason she didn't give it a glance? What was her thinking, as far as you know?
She's just trying to get the most for her money,
Yeah,
and
and
Probably
it
the
doesn't seem
camera,
like
right? Probably the camera though was probably
yeah,
the
I
biggest
mean,
draw
she
for
went with
her.
the 17 Pro, not the
and,
Pro
and
Max. She didn't go with Pro Max
yeah,
because she didn't want the big screen,
but she still
So
has the better cameras because she's got the Pro.
that's right.
Yeah, I
Right.
think that's a big thing, and I think
Well, she probably has good vision too, though. So I've had the Pro,
Yeah.
but this one is better for my eyes. It's just so much
yeah,
better.
I think there's a lot to be said for that. I think again, I think the Air has a market. I think has a place to it, but I think they went a little too far. Just a tiny bit too far with their compromises. Had they been a little bit less, it might have done a little better. We'll see.
Yeah,
It's give
yeah.
me the next year or so. We're going to see if they come up with a fold. We're going to see if they come up with an Air two. Even though I've been reading, I think you've all been reading. There probably won't be an Air two. I think that's
Right.
wrong. There probably will
I
be
think
an
they'll
Air
be
two.
here next spring's when
I
it'll
think it'll
be
just be
here.
longer. It'll just be delayed a little bit. Yeah, I think so. So we'll see where they go with this. It'll be interesting. But it's been an interesting addition to the product lineup. I'll say that.
Agreed.
Want it or not. You know.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
It's, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
What is proving
But
kind of cool and
What is?
popular right now is apparently Gemini 3. All right. So it's
Gemini
proving
3.
pretty popular, and Google is tweaking its pricing model because of its popularity, aren't they, Larry?
they
Right.
really are. Speaking of AI, I think everybody has their own take on AI, and it depends
Mm,
what, as we always say, the use case dictates what you do. Even the four of
Sure.
us in this show, we each have very different use cases regarding AI.
And thank goodness for
I
that.
think, well, and probably so. I think probably it's a fair statement to say I use it more than the other three.
You
And it's
do.
not that I believe in it more, it's just that my use cases don't dictate anything except A plus B equals C. And I can go do anything I want with ChatGPT or Gemini, and it comes out perfect. But if it has to involve speculation, or if you have to prove it, then you don't know what you're getting. But anyway, watching ChatGPT and Gemini over the past few months, and I use both of them probably 20 to 30 times a day. Watching these two companies has been truly like watching the two lead cars at the Indy 500. One pulls out with new features, another one says, "Uh oh,
Mm.
I got to speed it up, so I'm going to have a better feature." And they're just neck and neck and neck and neck. And this is a good thing for the consumers because when solution developers are competing, the people who win are us, the users, period. I've
Yeah,
bounced back
I
and
would
forth with a
agree.
pro subscription of both these products, and I have now settled in on Gemini for the moment. Who knows where
For
this
the
will go?
moment.
But
For the
there's
moment,
a
and that's a
good,
good
for
point for the
my
moment.
use cases, the reasoning is Gemini 3 is clearly emerging as the best technology. When you ask it a series of questions, from my perspective, it wins. That wasn't true a month ago. It really wasn't. And a special version of Gemini is going to be powering, we think, Siri, pretty
Right.
sure. So I see no reason, and I'm 100% at the Apple ecosystem. So I see no reason to not be 100% into Gemini because there's nothing ChatGPT can do for me anyway that Gemini can't. And since the launch of Gemini 3 Pro and the new Nano Banana Pro, I don't know if you guys have used this, but this is where Gemini fell flat up until about a month, less than a month ago. It failed miserably with images. Totally couldn't get any. Tell it to draw a banana, it'd draw an apple. I mean, literally that bad. Now it's so, so good. You cannot imagine. Draw me a marketing campaign banner for this product for this time of the year in Alaska. Boom, there it is. And it's gorgeous. So I don't know. The pricing thing is what the hitch is now. Past few days, Google has updated their access limits, and I've noticed. I didn't notice, but people who have the free version are telling me they don't know when this happens, but they just get this thing. It pops up and says, "I'm sorry, but you've reached your limit. Come back at 8:07 later this evening," or
Yeah.
something like that.
Hmm.
And then they put them back to the thinking with, the other thinking version that they had, but it's not the thinking with 3 Pro. So I don't know. It's clearly a decrease in the amount of free that you can get, although it's an increase if you have a paid subscription. So I don't know. If you use it enough, it's worth $20. Trust me. If you don't, then you're probably fine. If you don't use it but 10 times a day, you can, or if you reach your limit, you can always wait. I don't know. Chris,
True. What's really interesting though is, to be very, very honest, I don't know that I've ever reached my limit. And I actually have been using Chat GPT and Gemini quite a bit over the last month or so.
but do you
All
have
right.
the pro version?
Yes.
Well, you won't ever reach a limit with the pro
All
version.
right. Well, I had the plus for ChatGPT. I had plus, and I never really reached a limit with plus. All right. I never had to come back and say, I'm sorry, you're done for now. Go away and come back tomorrow. Right.
But when I dropped Chat GTP Plus about 3 or 4 days ago, now I'm getting those limit messages.
See, and I never
But they're
have.
free. I'm in the free version of it now. I think you have to be a free user to get those limit messages.
I would think so. I'll be honest, I have it. I use it every now and then, but if I use it once in a day or once in a week, that's about normal for me. So I'm never very going to hit it.
You know, neither here nor there. I guess at the end, but I, I think that it's. I'm finding that I get a lot of value out of the subscriptions that I have. Um, I know that with my Google Workplace subscription, I get Gemini Pro along with that, or Gemini 3 along with that, and I've got the Chat GPT workspace just to go ahead and see how that worked out. I'm probably going to end up dropping it because, to be very, very honest, um, I'm I don't see a great deal of difference between the workplace version, which is supposed to have um, access to their latest greatest thinking models and
No,
all right,
no, no.
I thought it
Honestly,
did.
I can tell you for a fact, and I not only have one Google Workspace, it's the same one you have. It's like
Right.
$12 per user per month. But I manage two other organizations that pay that have the full enterprise version. And the one we have, Chris, in Google Workspace does
Yeah.
not have 3 Pro. It does not. You have to pay the $20 on top of that to get it because I'm doing it. It wouldn't let me have it.
Hmm.
And it even tells you if you, I'll tell you where I read it. Go into your Google Workspace admin
Yeah.
and follow the AI path, and it'll tell you the differences, what you have, and what you can pay for.
All right.
So
I'll have to
yeah,
do that because at this point, it's just you know.
Yep.
but I still think it's a good deal. I really do.
Yeah,
Whatever.
for me, these none of these are doing
No.
things I give a crap about yet. So to me, it isn't worth the money yet. Maybe someday, but not today. I
And
just
it's
don't need
just
what
like
it's doing.
those. It's just like those tips that I have to write for a
Yeah,
website here. And I just, I cranked out a whole year's worth of tips, and they're just like the ones that I sent to you, Chris.
yeah,
There
Those
you
are
go.
valid. I mean, I fact checked every one of them, but they're all perfect. And my God, it did it in 90 seconds. It was done. It would have taken me a month.
Yep.
Yeah. See.
that's
So
good. That but it meets your needs. That's a wonderful thing.
that's exactly you. You're always right about that caveat.
It's the one thing we have to be careful with because again, I can't make assumptions for you, and you can't make assumptions for me. If I
It's
say
just like
something's useless, it's
if
only
you
for
have
me
a
that it's useless.
if you have a machine that spits out free bananas all day long and you don't like bananas, what good is it?
Right.
Now I
Exactly
want that
right.
machine. I want that machine. That one I care about. I'll pay a subscription for that.
There you go.
Of course you would.
Of course I would.
Of course you would. You know what I think though is kind of cool is that Google, speaking of Google, they're going through some level of redesign with their weather app. All right. And it is apparently, all right,
Apparently.
Supposedly.
apparently going to be replaced by search results.
Yep. If you look in the App Store, the Google's weather app, and this is something I really can't look at because I got a Pixel phone, and when I look at the weather app on my phone, it launches the Pixel weather app, which is a little bit different than the standard weather app. But then the standard weather app, they haven't updated it in quite some time,
Sure.
and it looks like now for non-Pixel users that the Google weather is being basically replaced by a search. Which, as long as it works, I don't really see it as a big a deal. Yeah, the only thing I think is probably maybe an issue here is um, one thing I do with at least with the Pixel Weather app is I will like say if I'm traveling to Knoxville
Mm-hmm.
and I am here in a few weeks, I will put Knoxville weather in my app, and then that way I can check on the weather as I get closer. That way I kind of know
Sure.
what to pack, stuff like that. So I don't know if you can do that with this, but generally
Don't know.
if all you're doing is looking at the current weather for where you are, this will work. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would venture a guess I could, pick up this phone and ask any AI bot, what is the weather in Chicago right now? And it would
Right.
probably give
Sure.
me a better weather description than what I would find on the
It,
weather app. And
it's funny because
well,
that
that's
is not
add
how
to it.
it'll look at 10 of them to find that,
that actually
not
is not
one.
how I use weather. I want to see multiple cities and places at the same time and compare. And things like that. So
Right.
for me, none of this does me any good. So I tend to not use any of the built-in apps for anybody. I tend to use other apps, other third-party apps out
Right.
there for weather because they're more useful to me. So, I think it's disappointing that they're going to just make it a search, but
Mm-hmm.
um, I get it. What I've had the bigger problem with, and Joel, you and I've talked about this, is that
Right.
Google will put things on their Pixel before they put it everywhere else, which is
Yep.
fine. They need to be able to sell their Pixels. I get that, but they're very bad at saying it's almost a conflict of interest because they're also creating core Android and Android apps. It's a conflict in the sense that they're not always as clear about, oh, this is not everywhere. This is only on ours and only on our device. And the rest of you are just second class citizens.
Right.
That's kind of it's kind of disappointing that they handle it that way, but I get why they do it that way. So, and this is just
Are
another
they going to
example of
put
that.
this? Are they going to frame this in any kind of a user interface, or does anybody know? Is it going to dump
Yeah,
it back as text, or what?
that's a good question.
It
It is a
looks
good
like, at
question.
least from the article, like when you hit it, like let me bring the article up again. Then it brings up an image that's very close to what it had in the app. It's just
Okay,
in
fair
like
enough.
in Google. I mean, so like you get the multiple days, you get the hourly and
Sure.
that stuff, and the graphical uh, line for the average and stuff like that. So I mean, you get a lot of the same information. So
Okay. Yeah, I just wish they weren't treating the rest of the Android users like they're second class
yeah,
citizens. They do, but I wish they didn't. But okay, it works. Here we go.
Yeah.
On we go.
And speaking of
right.
on we go, we're going to go right on into our Windows segment. But you know what? We're going to do that right after this brief message. Hi, this is Christopher Spera from iTechGear.org and the iTechGear Weekly. And I want to say 5 years. We've been at this for 5 years. And boy, we could really use your help. I know that you've probably been listening maybe for a week or two now, and you've heard me say this more than once. If you feel like you're getting something out of this particular podcast, boy, we really would appreciate a donation of any size, of any type, of any kind, for as often or as just a one-off as you feel called. This is all done on my personal dime. I've never taken any kind of money for this, not because I didn't want to, but because we haven't reached enough people yet. However, we're doing our best to expand our audience. We've had folks like Paul Thurrott from Windows Weekly, Chris Perillo from Locker Gnome, from Vibe Coding fame, from um, his personal Twitch channel. If you're familiar with Chris, then you know he's a nut and is a great guy to have on the show. We've had Todd Ogasawara from the Mobile Views podcast, and a few other folks that I've got lined up just waiting to get on the show. We are doing our best to make this show one of the absolute best that you can find on the internet. And $1, $2, anything that you can spare for as long as you can spare it would be wonderful as far as we're concerned. I'm not going to belabor this, but hey, we would really appreciate your support. And if you feel called, you can go ahead and make a donation to Chris at iTechGear.org. As I said, this is all coming out of my own pocket. So anything that you can go ahead and send us would be greatly appreciated. On behalf of Brother Joe McLaughlin, Mr. Chris Gavula, and Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin, and myself, I'd like to say thanks. And now let's get back on to the rest of the show. And welcome back to the iTechGear Weekly episode number 154. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Yes.
And I want to go ahead and I want to get us into our Windows segment. And yes, kids, it is the Cyber Monday edition of the Microsoft Mistake-a-Thon. Oh, yes. They're here. It's short but sweet this week, kids. We've got a couple of stories about really big, stupid stuff, and here they are. Joel, spin that big wheel. It's some of this stuff is we've been saying this for months and weeks, and the fact that Microsoft just doesn't get it.
You know what? Before you start, Chris, to put this in perspective for our listeners,
Sure.
that wheel that Joel spins has probably 40 little segments on it. 20 of them are labeled with Copilot, and the other 20 are Microsoft updates.
That's true.
It can't miss.
So our first story is, users are brutally rejecting Microsoft's Copilot for work, all right, in Edge and in Windows 11. And, Microsoft's been trying to build hype around Copilots and the inclusion of AI in Copilot, for a while now. And some of the stuff that they've been doing for agentic AI or agent mode, as they also call it, I think is really just completely misplaced. All right. Over at windowslatest.com, they've got an interesting story, and we've got, of course, links in the show notes for this. Microsoft is trying to hype Copilot again on social media, and it's not going well with consumers have absolutely hate the fact that Microsoft is shoving their chatbot, their AI chatbot, down users' throats, and they don't want it. They just don't want it. Microsoft is saying, hey, we're trying to build this experience here, and trying to integrate Copilot for work and Edge, and because we heard you and you wanted Copilot mode at work. I don't think it's true.
No, and you know what's interesting about that, Chris, is that it's not. We're seeing two things. We're seeing folks like us saying, we don't want this crap, and we're the kind of people that normally would grab at these
new
tech
technology
improvements and whatnot, and we don't want anything to do with it. We're saying that, but the mainstream media is picking up from folks like us. It's not just us here, us four saying it. There's a lot of tech folks saying, guys, we don't want that. Well, guess what? When we say stuff and enough of us say it, we have friends and family that hear us say it, and they say it to their friends and family, and they say it to their friends and family,
and so on and so on and so on.
And don't you find it odd that Google has never done that? They have said, here is Gemini. It's really good. Try it. I don't think they push it down our throats.
They don't have a plunger, strapped to your face, pushing and pulling and pushing and pulling.
I'll say it's not as bad, but I have had people say, why is this Gemini button in the upper right-hand corner of my Google Chrome browser?
True.
And a lot of folks don't like that
either. It's there.
But what I'm saying is Google doesn't come out in the news and say, you must push that Gemini button or your whole world will be wrong. No, that's what I'm saying.
No, they don't. And that's one of the reasons why I think, Google is going to end up doing a lot better at this than Microsoft will.
So will ChatGPT.
Well, I think Microsoft is working themselves into antitrust mode again. All right. Yeah. This is shade of the 1990s, because they're forcing this down people's throats, like they were forcing Internet Explorer down everybody. Mm-hmm. And you would think that somebody over there either remembers the days or is still working there from that time.
Is anybody there still working there?
Well,
they've let so many people go, it's hard to know anymore.
That's true. That's true. But it's I just gotta wonder, when ads start popping up in the middle of my start menu, or when they start popping up in the middle of my workflow, or if people didn't like Clippy for this exact reason. He was in your face all the time. And there was a
But you know
huge
what?
Clippy revolt because of it.
Clippy is like very innocuous and non-offensive compared to this
Compared
nonsense.
to this
Oh, I
nonsense,
agree. I
you
agree.
know, please do me a favor and bring back Clippy and drop this off at the local Goodwill, would you please? Because this is absolutely just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's definitely not what people are looking for. That's for sure.
No, no, and Microsoft is further taking this down the line where they're going to have people. They want this thing to be agentic or um, agent based, where you're going to be talking to your computer all day long, going, "Do this for me, do that for me, do that, the other thing for me." You know, why can't we go back to to Star Trek 4, Save the Whales, and just use the keyboard?
How
Can we just
quaint.
use the keyboard?
Or I was happy talking to the mouse. Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
Hello, computer.
Right.
No, no, thank you. Honest to goodness, I mean, there's going to be so much chatter in the office. I really think that having to talk to your computer to get anything done all day, every day is going to be a problem. There's going to be too much chatter in the office, and I think it's going to be a huge distraction. But that's just me.
I think any technology that a company forces on its users is wrong. It's like that stupid effing air mouse on my LG TV.
Yeah.
I hate that thing with a passion, and
Or
you
you start
cannot
waving
turn it off.
you start
You
waving that.
you can't turn it off. You cannot do it. It will not go away.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they think it's so wonderful.
Yeah, when Guardian, leave me alone, sir, is really what you're
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
say. I mean, really, I feel like I'm waving a Harry Potter wand at the TV.
All right, let's see it then.
Right.
Thank you, thank you. And speaking of seeing it, apparently, there's a bug. Well, of course, there's a bug. All right,
Of
but
course,
there's
it's
a
a bug.
Windows 11 bug hiding the sign-in button, which I think this is just an absolutely huge and hilarious bug.
What a place to put a bug.
You're clicking it wrong,
Right.
Joel, aren't you? You're
Right.
clicking it wrong.
Supposedly, yeah, that's the issue.
That's the story, huh?
Yeah, so the Microsoft Windows 11 bug hides your password sign-in button, and Microsoft fixes to hover and click it in the right spot. Okay, but where's the right spot?
See,
Without
well,
any conversation about that, of course.
what's really, really, I think kind of stupid is they're telling you to hover the mouse over the correct spot on your screen, but if you can't see it, where the hell is it?
Right. Well,
It's not where you're clicking, that's for sure.
Apparently,
and
'cause I'm
let's
clicking
face
it wrong.
Not every laptop has Windows Hello. Even new laptops, there's questions on whether it supports Windows Hello. And then
Whether
you
or
get
not
people
that
like my
camera will
wife.
support. Yeah.
You get
Mhm.
people like my wife who, like, when presented with setting up Face Unlock for her iPhone, she didn't want to use it. And it's like, why? She just want to type the password, like this.
People should be able to use their electronics or their equipment the way that they want to. All right.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it's more convenient,
Agreed.
which is basically what Misty is saying, right? I
Or
don't care that it's
secure.
more convenient or more secure. I don't
Right.
want to do that. I want to type in a code or a password or
Right.
whatever else it is, right? I'd rather do that. I'm more comfortable doing
Mhm.
that. I'm happier doing that. That's my workflow. That's my use case.
Yep.
That's what I want.
And
Mhm.
for some people, that's it.
You know? But the fact that Microsoft is saying that you're not clicking in the right place, I'm not hovering and clicking in the right place. Well, of course
Like
I'm
you're
not
holding it
hovering.
wrong on the iPhone 4.
Yeah, it's like you're holding it exactly. It's the exact same thing, right? And what really, really bothers me here is that, well, if I can't see it, there's absolutely no way that I can click it. I don't know where to hover and click.
Yep.
So you telling me that that well they're all going to be in the same space. They're all going to be in the well if they're hidden. How the hell do I know that? Or how the hell do I know that it's actually in that spot? You could have changed something. God knows you change shit all the time, and you don't tell anybody.
Changing Sheldon's spot makes Sheldon unhappy.
Thank you.
Moving
But
the
she's in my
cheese.
spot. And she eats my food. Uh,
But oops.
yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. But did you know, Chris?
Humanoid weighs 8 pounds?
Well, yeah, that a southern facing laden swallow. Anyway,
Right.
What is the wind speed up?
yeah, yes. I'll take laden swallows for 500.
Or I'll take
Oh,
Monty
how we
Python jokes for
digress.
500.
Thank you. Yes,
Right.
but did you know that there are 500 million PCs holding off in a Windows 11 update? Chris, really?
This is what Dell is saying.
Yes.
And these are machines that are capable of the update already.
Yeah.
They say there's as many that aren't capable. So they're talking about 1 million PCs at minimum, and they think the number's bigger than that, are not upgrading, either because they're not capable or because they just don't want to.
And you know what's really, really kind of interesting and amazing is that for those that aren't capable, most of them are probably not capable because of the T2 security chip. It's probably the number one reason why. And Rufus will
Sure.
go ahead and actually disable that. So that search
Sure.
when you burn a USB stick with a Windows installation DVD, and it's very, very easy. Larry, remind me to talk to you later about an experience I had with just that particular point and a local Microsoft account.
Well, I was going to say there are a couple of
Okay.
third-party ways to get around all that and get it done. But the
Yeah.
point is, if there's all these people that are refusing to move forward, the question becomes why. And I think we talk about the why on almost every freaking Mistake-a-Thon.
Well, yeah, because
You know,
every time we spin the freaking wheel,
but this
and
is one of the big players because people forget Dell is not just in the PC selling business. They're like HP. They have a big servicing arm
mm-hmm.
that spends a lot of has a lot of service contracts
Oh yeah,
out there, and
oh yeah,
nobody's wanting to go there.
no.
And a lot of people are saying no. That's a lot of people to say no,
1 million either
at
home
least.
users or business users.
Yeah,
Yes,
saying
that's a
no.
great deal. They don't want to put up with the bullshit. They really just
And you
don't.
know what? This goes a lot further than where we're talking. Let me bring you an example. This is a true story. Last week, the first part of last week, a gentleman walked into our refurbishment office where we do all the updates, and we take people donate PCs all the time, and
Sure.
businesses who or individuals, whoever, we refurbish them and give them away. So he walks in with a Windows 10 PC laptop. It's maybe it was a Dell actually, and it was maybe 6, 7 years old. And he hands it to the check-in guy there. And he said, "Here, you can have this thing. I'm done." And he said, "I mean, really done. I am over Windows. I bought myself an iPad, and I'm going home to play with it." And out he walked.
There you
So
go.
now there you go. If there was one case like that, there has to be another million out there doing similar things. And
Oh,
it could be an
absolutely.
Android tablet. I don't care. But he was over Microsoft
And
as a
yet,
70-year-old, 65, 70-year-old man over
who
them
who who grew who quote unquote grew up with
with
Windows,
Microsoft.
with
Yep.
Microsoft, right? Cut his computing teeth on Windows and VisiCalc and
Sure.
WordStar and WordPerfect and all that other crapola back from the 80s and 90s, and it's probably just completely fed up with it. I don't blame him.
And,
But
and you know, we sound like a broken record because we do this every week. We go about a lot of weeks anyway.
yeah,
But the problem is we're getting hit with it by Microsoft and others
every
every week.
week.
It's
And
not
it's
just
not
us
just
saying it.
one thing. It's the Windows to the people who don't understand. They don't understand why their perfectly good 5-year-old computer won't run Windows 11. You can't explain
But Larry, this
T2
is
to them at
what
all.
what we're saying today is this is beyond whether it will or won't run it. There's a bunch of people who it will run and they don't want to go
Right?
to it.
They don't
Yeah,
want it
they don't
either.
want
You're
to go
right.
there, right?
You know,
there's 500,000 people or 500,000 computers.
at least they're estimating it's more than that. This is just what they think they know.
Right. And it's really kind of interesting. And if you look at some of the details in this,
Uh-huh.
right, there are
Yeah.
8 different Windows builds, at
Yeah.
least. There's actually 12. There's 12. All right.
Right.
But there's this article from, again, windowslatest.com is citing uh KB numbers and updates that were released on August 29th, September 9th, September 22nd, September 29th, October 14th, October 20th, October 28th, and November 11th. And those last 4, starting with the October date going up to November 11th, have two different builds in them that are related. So it's absolutely, positively just crazy.
Well, it's gotten to the point, and I've said that I said this several years ago, and I've said it on this show multiple times. I am not a fan of Windows as a service, which is what we keep
No.
moving toward. And Windows Update has moved to being a service to the point that I don't know what version I'm running. I don't know what version I'm entitled to run. I don't know what version is coming.
And that's exactly the way that Microsoft wants it.
And I'll talk to you and say, hey, I'm having this problem. Are you running this? Oh, no, I'm running a different version. What do you mean you're running a different version? Well,
how the hell are you running a different version than I am?
Yeah,
right.
We're all on different things because of what flavors we're on. Yes, I understand there's choices when you're in Windows Insider and you can pick certain tracks. I get all that. But this is beyond that. Even if you're all on the same track, you don't get it at the same time. You don't necessarily get the same sub packages.
Exactly.
You get all kinds of weirdness.
Because you've got different hardware, because you've got different hardware and different models of the same PC.
And I've said this all along. You and I had this talk many years ago. Remember, we were complaining about the, I think it was about the alarm bug. Well, we were talking about the original alarm bug that the Microsoft had. I think they had it in the Pocket PCs, and then they had it in Windows, the alarm bug.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if I can't rely on it to work the same way every time,
what
good is it to me?
It's worthless.
And that's what I feel about Windows these days. It's not consistent.
No.
Oh, it worked this time and it did something different next time. It did something different the third time. And I don't know why it's doing these different things. And that's the frustrating part. And I think a lot of people are feeling that. I think a lot of people, and they're hearing it from their friends who did upgrade. And they're going, oh, crap, I don't want any piece of that.
Yeah,
I think that's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lot of what's happening.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But you know what? Without it, we wouldn't have a reason to spin the big wheel. So,
that's true.
Thank you, Microsoft. Thank you, Microsoft, for giving us a reason to spin the wheel.
But why do you wake up every morning and have a meeting that starts out with, how can we piss off our users today?
Yeah.
It's like they do that.
They do. And I'm finding it excessively frustrating. And, I may or may not have mentioned this, but based on the Windows 10 end of service, based on the couple 3-4 primers that I've written related to the switch from Windows 10 to Linux, I'm actually writing a full-blown book on switching to Linux. Long story short, one of the reasons why Windows became Windows, the Windows of today, is because it was down, dirty, and cheap, and fast, and quick. The solution for Windows, I actually go spend a whole chapter in this book and just talk about the history of Windows and how we got to the shit show that we're in. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about, it was all about the opportunity that Microsoft had to, while Unix was busy bickering with itself, all right, to go ahead and establish a down, dirty, and cheap user base and get people.
Well, I remember back in the day,
yeah,
everybody loved the interface on the Apple Macintosh, but it was expensive, and Windows was a cheaper alternative to get a graphic interface.
Yep,
that was what a lot of people said, and that's why a lot of people went there.
And that's exactly why people went there. All right, and that's why there are so many Windows users today. That's why they won the desktop wars.
But let's not forget,
they're ubiquitous everywhere.
Let's not forget that even if you choose to stay on 10, if you choose to buy the security patches for the next year, which just started in October, the first one came out and it had a freaking bug in it and had to be pulled. and fixed.
Mm-hmm.
We started with more bugs, more problems. I mean, who
Right.
wants to stay with that?
Yep.
Who wants to deal
Nobody
with that
does.
anymore? And that's
Nobody
what we're
does.
running into. That's what we're seeing, and it just it's
I
maddening.
w- and
It's
I
just
will say
maddening.
this:
Right.
Go
there
ahead,
are
Joel.
those in the
Go ahead,
Linux
Joel.
community that think that Linux is a solution. Well,
It's
is
got
it
its own
really?
problems. It's not
That's the
perfect.
No,
thing, right?
Linux is a solution, that's for sure. But I think
Right.
the biggest
Well,
problem that the Linux market has right now
Yeah.
is it's way
apps.
too it's too fractured.
I
You
don't
can't
think
put
it's a fracture problem. I don't think it's that because it
well
never really was that. The problem is that it doesn't support. Like, here's an
uh
example. What choice did I have in order to switch to an operating system that wasn't Windows to where I could run Adobe Creative Cloud? There was only one other choice, Mac
yeah,
OS.
Yeah.
yeah.
Linux doesn't run Linux,
But I
okay?
do think if
But,
the Linux wasn't so fractured, though, if there was some more consistent, fewer
well, no,
versions out there, I think that would become more likely that
the
they would
fra-
release apps.
this doesn't apply to Linux. The fracturedness doesn't really apply to Linux. You're trying to compare it to Android, and I'll tell you why this doesn't work.
No,
There
but
is just one app store. There is Ubuntu's app stores. There is Debian's software repos. There's Fedora's software repos. Okay, you stick to those, you're not gonna have a problem. All right.
but it's hard. It's hard to put a user front that says this is the one to go with. That's the problem because they all have
Each one of them
pluses and
does.
minuses. There's no
There's an app
consistency.
store in each one of them.
I know, I agree. But the problem again,
So
it's fracturing because users don't know what
if
to
you
do.
stick,
Adobe
the
won't
thing is
develop for
though,
it if they don't know which one to go with.
Well,
the
you've
thing
got
is
12
that
different
you
major
stick.
families of Linux. All right.
That's right.
You've got app stores, you've got app stores and software repositories or software centers
And if you
in
support,
each of them. All right.
if you
There are over
support the Linux standard
1,000
base, it's
there
not
are
a problem.
there are literally over 1,000 different versions of Linux with
True.
600 in active support today.
This is why there are packages. There are things like Snap. There are things. I'm trying to remember that the other one, Snap, and all these other things where basically, because I get what you're saying, but it's a library issue, and there are workarounds to all of those.
True.
All right.
Yeah,
But
So
the average user
you,
doesn't want to deal with that.
no,
well, no,
and
no,
they
no,
don't
no, no,
know
no, no,
how.
no, no. This is not a complicated workaround, Chris. This is you install the Snap Pack and everything works. I mean, it ain't hard. It's not shared libraries here. All the libraries that are needed for a
All right.
Snap
Okay.
package
Yes.
are
From that
included in
perspective,
it.
yes, you're right. From that
Yeah.
perspective, yes, you're absolutely correct. All right.
So,
When you do actually find something to install that you like, all right, that you like,
right.
it just works. You're absolutely correct.
Yep.
All right. And that's one of the biggest draws to Linux, like Mac
Right.
OS. The shit just works. When it works, and it works
Yep.
well. All right.
Yep. In fact, there's even technology in Linux that um, you see it more on the server level than you do on desktop level. But
Right.
they literally can patch the kernel and keep the operating system running at the same time.
While the kernel, while the guts of the kernel, while
Oh
that
yeah.
engine is being patched.
Yep.
That's absolutely
It's
correct.
mostly on the server level. You don't see it on the desktop. I've played with it in the past.
Yep.
It's not in any of the desktop standards. So,
Right, but
but
but what I find so very very frustrating, and we're way off target here in terms of
yes,
topic. All right, um, from family to family, from distro to distro, um, the way that those things work and the way that those solutions are actually pulled together is seen as a bit cryptic, and that's
yes,
one of the biggest reasons why users aren't flocking there right now.
yes,
So
yes. And I will agree with that. I will say this
Yeah.
though. A lot of folks will say, well, in order to use Linux, you need to learn how to use the command line.
No, that's not true.
Absolutely not.
I don't.
No,
I
it
don't even
hasn't
hear
been
people
true
say
for
that, Joel.
decades.
Joel, I don't hear people saying that. I haven't heard people say
Right.
that in a long time. But I will say they don't know which one to
Some
flock to
do.
because they don't know which one's going to be supported tomorrow and which one's not. They don't
Right.
know, and they're uncomfortable. They want somebody to tell
Well,
them.
and in a lot of cases too, they don't know that, even as a standard user, if you really want to pay for support for Linux, you can do that. So
Yeah,
it's
but
very
there's things
possible to
like,
do.
for example, we as an organization, we're heavily
Right.
dependent on CentOS. When CentOS got pulled out, it was a huge nightmare for everybody
It
because a
is.
distro
It is.
disappeared. Because all of a
Yep.
sudden that was disappearing. That was a problem. What do you go to? Well,
Thank you,
our different
Oracle.
our different and our different vendors were making our one vendor was going this way, another vendor was going this way, another vendor was going this way,
And there were
and
those in the Linux community that could have
it made
told
a
you that.
mess.
Right.
It
There
made
are
a
those
horrible
in
mess.
Linux community that that basically said that was going to be a problem with CentOS, and boy, howdy was it.
Yeah, but again,
Yeah,
for
I
an average
mean,
consumer, they're not going to know that. They just see
right.
everybody's running a certain version. They don't know, you
Yep.
know, they don't know, and
I'll
that's
say
one of the
this.
challenges for
You
folks.
want a
That's one
good
of the
desktop,
challenges.
right? You want a good desktop Linux, go with Ubuntu. You're not going to be
Yep,
disappointed.
I
Period.
think that's true. That's a pretty standard answer to the
Yep.
question, you know.
And you
So
can load Chrome, you
so
can play YouTube videos, you can even watch Netflix on it if you want.
but we are getting new things in Windows. So to sort of
We
drag us
are
back to
kind of
Windows,
sort
aren't
of.
we?
Correct. And thank you for doing that. We are seeing some interesting things. And this is actually a something that is coming back from Windows 10, from what I understand. But Windows 11
Huh.
will soon have calendar appointments show when in the version of the
Notification
calendar that
space.
you can see in the system clock.
Yep.
And we had this in 10, and it's finally coming back. Nice.
Right.
Jeez, oh Pete,
I
and then
didn't,
wonder why people don't want to go.
and this is how long I've been not using Windows, is that I didn't even know that was gone. But you know, so I mean,
Fair
and I'm
enough.
like, and when I did use Windows, um,
Eh,
Outlook would pop up notifications. I never missed a calendar appointment, so it's a good
yeah,
thing. It's a good
yeah.
thing,
I was going to say Outlook is where I end up doing it because of work primarily. So
Right.
yeah, I'm with
Yep.
you.
Same here.
I'm with you.
Yep. But
Huh. So it's coming back. Okay.
Yeah, it's
yep.
coming back, which I think is kind of cool.
Yep.
All right.
So Um, I don't necessarily it's nice to be able because it's whatever Windows Mail app that you had that you're using that is the default app, whether that's Outlook or the new Outlook or whether that's Outlook standard or um classic, if you will, that you might use at work. Those appointments showing up in the system tray are, in my opinion, a huge help. But again, that's just me. Um, Having that level of integration is nice, but yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to move us to our tip of the week segment, and I have to go ahead and thank that magic guy again. Larry, for providing us with this week's tip. Um, uh, and again, before I get to the actual tip, I want to remind everybody, hey, iTechGear was founded with the intent of making technology easier for everyone to use and understand. And this team specifically has dedicated their writing careers to that specific purpose. So every week we have a tip, and it's going to be authored by one of our experienced editors. If you've got questions, concerns, comments, requests, or yay, dare I say, ideas, would you please do me a favor and send those over to tips@itechgear.org? If we go ahead and use your suggestion or idea, we will go ahead and give you your 15 seconds worth of fame here on the show and give you a little byline. So, but this week we've got something about using surge protection and power backup. And this is a hugely important, especially in the holiday season when you're probably more likely to go ahead and have extra electronics around or extra things that you need to find a plug for, and you don't want to overload anything. So power surges and outages can damage computers and cause data loss. And that's why it's smart to use a surge protector or an uninterrupted power supply or UPS. Surge protector shields your equipment from sudden spikes in electricity, which can happen during storms or electrical issues or anytime you plug too many things into a single outlet and you push and pull plugs in and out, that sudden drop, and then that brownout, or if you will, and then sudden slam back to full power, can actually cause a lot of problems with your particular devices, and they can actually fry them. All right. This is especially true and useful for desktop computers, which don't have built-in batteries like laptops. Using surge protectors also extends the life of your devices by preventing hidden electrical wear. For critical systems such as work computers or servers, a UPS is an affordable safeguard against downtime and data loss, especially when the power goes bye-bye and you've got something that you're working on. It's really important. We had a power outage over at the office last week, and it was an absolute shocker. Everybody in the office, literally everyone, is using a laptop, but all the extra monitors, all of them winked out. Yet your work was still safe and still there. Such can be the same for your desktop. It doesn't have a battery. So protecting your computer's power supply is a simple but often overlooked way to keep your system safe and reliable. Larry, you have anything that you want to add?
No. I think everybody should use. If you UPSs are not expensive anymore, you can get a really good one that will cover your whole office
For a
if you
couple
just have a
$100.
normal small office at home. Costco or Sam's Club for probably 60, 70, $80 or
Yep.
more if you want a bigger one.
Yep.
But if you have ever monitored pure voltage coming into your house, I have, and there's meters that do this, and
Yeah.
those meters don't just sit still on 113 volts.
Nope.
They fluctuate, they just move around. And then when there's a storm, that effect is intensified, and that's when the problems happen. All your
You
TV.
know, let me add something to this. I lost power at my house last week, and I work out of my home office. And yeah, my computer stayed up and ran, and it was fine. And I do have my computers and stuff on a UPS, but what I didn't have on a UPS was my internet router. Had I been dependent on cloud storage or cloud usage, I would have been screwed.
Yeah.
So put your
Right.
put your internet connections on a UPS as well, folks. I did not, and that created well, it didn't create problems for me because I tend to keep things locally and then move them up when I'm ready.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, it's not just your desktops and such that we're talking about here. It's your whole home internet. You might want that up as well. You might want to protect that as well. They're cheap
True.
these days. Like Larry said, they're cheap these days. You might as well stick it in there, even if it's not in your home office. Mine is actually in a different part of the building. So, there you go.
Very true.
Good words of wisdom there. Yeah, to
Absolutely.
protect yourself.
Absolutely. So I want to go ahead and I'm going to move us to our pick of the week segment. All right. And before we get to the actual pick this week, I want to again go ahead and remind everybody that our picks are typically hardware, software, and other items of interest that we have individually purchased and actually used, and that we like enough that we want to go ahead and bring them to you, our growing listener base. These are not paid advertisements or items that we have any kind of affiliated marketing relationship with. If they were, the editorial policy over at iTechGear.org indicates that we have to let you guys know that up front. These are just things that we sincerely believe in, and we bring them to you at the end of each show. Why?
Because we
kind of
like
like
you.
you.
Oh my
Kinda.
God!
Yeah.
That was, that's over 90%, dude. I'm
It's
telling
closer than we've heard before.
you. Ever.
Yes.
Holy smokes.
Yes.
Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus.
I
So, Larry,
so
you
wanna
got this week's
press
pick.
that one
What do we
button.
got this week?
I this week have a little software app. I don't know. I spent a whole long career in the software and the publishing industries, and I do have an honest soft spot in my heart for indie developers, especially those who write those niche apps that in the utilities that fill a hole or a gap, and that are created for the users. They're not just built to satisfy the developer. Today's pick to me is just that. It's a one-trick pony, and it finally solves one of the biggest UX problems in Mac OS Apple Mail. As you know, if you use Apple Mail, it's a great product. It really is, and it's the most used mail app out there. Not mail service, mail app, and that's only because it's installed on all the iPhones and all the iPads and all the Macs. But it doesn't have anything in the Mac menu bar that notifies you that you've got mail. You can't, there's no extensions, there's nothing for it. Apple has refused to put this in, much to the chagrin of all the users, for decades. Well, this app solves that problem. It's a mail notification icon that goes on the menu bar, very configurable with different icons, different things. Several apps over time have tried to do this. They've attempted to do it. I think Butler tried to do it, failed miserably at that part. It was a good app, but it didn't do well at this. They all failed. Badgeify is the name of this app, and they've created a perfect little app. It seamlessly as a customizable icon to the menu bar, alerts you of new messages. You can click on the icon, it'll launch mail instantly. Very helpful for those of us who keep our dock hidden. We don't have it locked in on the bottom. So it lets me know when I have new mail. It works with Apple Mail, but it also has some other features if you choose to notify you from apps like Slack or Discord or Teams or any of those things. And you can try this app with their very generous forever free version. As a matter of fact, if you're just using it for mail, you're good to go. You don't ever have to pay for it. But it does have some limitations in the numbers of apps you use. So if you wanted to do more than 2 apps and give you notices about email or whatever, message from a coworker, Slack, whatever, you're going to have to get the pro version. Now, and also if you want to put custom icons instead of like the little basic envelope that comes with it. But I find that the basic icons are absolutely perfect. I didn't even opt to change any of them. The nice thing about this, even at full price, which it isn't today, but full price is only $19 for this app for a lifetime license, not a subscription. Over the holidays here, starting with Black Friday, the developer has got a $9.50 price tag on this. Folks, I am here to tell you, from being in the software industry, this is a well-designed, well-crafted app. It's honestly one of the best utilities I have ever put on my Mac. And I thank you, Badgeify, for filling yet another hole in one of Apple's mainstream apps. Get this thing. It's in the show notes. If you use Apple Mail, you will love it. I promise. That's it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I've looked at this, and this is a really nice app. So
I'll tell you, this thing's coded beautifully. It is just a class app.
And it looks it. It truly looks it. This is awesome. Well, that, kids, is the show. This has been the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 154. You'll shoot your eye out, kid. Recorded live Sunday, November 30th, 2025, live from iTechGear Central for Mr. Chris Gavula, Brother Joe McLaughlin, and Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. Hey, this is Christopher Spera saying we will see you next time at our holiday gift guide show.
Yes.